Wait a minute now. Welcome to WYCD Wicked that stands for what you can do. That's right, you're listening to the No Time Award winning WYCD coming to you from the Pompadour of America, Dearborn, Michigan, USA. How's everybody doing? I see some old friends here already. AC, hello. Pinkerbell, hello. I got a cup of Joe going, and we are celebrating Canada Day because the U.S. didn't earn it this year. It might be the last year that the troops aren't sent directly after the lefties for a while. Um, Given that we've got a president asleep at the wheel and a Supreme Court which has just turned us into an authoritarian state. That's right. The U.S. president can no longer be held to the same laws that you or I have to. In other words, if they can arrest us, it doesn't mean they can arrest the president. Ooh, ooh, that's bad. Do you remember when Trump was saying, if they can do it to me, they can do it to you? Apparently, the complaint wasn't that they can do it. It was that he was included in that group of people that laws apply to. Well, he doesn't have to worry about that anymore. The Supreme Court, in one of the most disturbing, embarrassing, disgraceful decisions it has ever made, chose to interpret the law to say that no official act of the President of the United States can be subjected to a criminal investigation, can be charged. So, to be clear, when we say official act, we mean the president said, I'm acting as the president now, and as the president, I say to do this thing. Rules, as they say, for thee, but not for me. Um, we need to undo this. I'll tell you the wicked on it right now. We got to undo this. We need to put into place federal legislation that specifically says POTUS can and must, that's important, must be charged when they are found to have committed a crime in office. We have an OLC opinion while we're at it that we should knock down, saying that essentially you can't bother the president with anything while they are the president. I don't agree with that either. I never have, and we have seen in recent years how that is bad. I don't think it's enough to say, oh, you got the 25th Amendment. For context, the last time we dealt with this, when this decision was made, Nixon was in office. And they were deciding, well, you can't bother Nixon. He's a Republican. No. We're going to say, the Office of Legal Counsel, we're going to say that it's our opinion, again, not a law. Really want to stress that we've allowed ourselves to be hampered simply by the opinion ruling class. Office of Legal Counsel said it's our opinion that a president cannot be charged with a crime while in office. Doesn't mean it's not a crime. It just means you can't charge them with it while they're in office. And we've chosen to let that lie there for 50 years or 30 years or whatever it was. Now what has happened is the Supreme Court just made it official. That's really the only difference. If you're freaking out, good. But you should also know the Supreme Court simply made official what was already practically in effect. I want that changed too. I want a federal law that again says if a president if there is evidence of a crime You not only can investigate, you not only can charge, but you must. And if the president is so concerned about not being able to do their job if they can't break the law, they shouldn't be president. It's that simple. You want a way to make sure that the president isn't weighed down by criminal cases all the time? Don't elect a criminal. Pretty easy fix. Our ruling class has asked us to play dumb. It's part of our role in society is to pretend always like they've got a bigger game going on than we're even capable of understanding, even though it looks exactly like what any petty criminal would do if they were in office. Let's see what the wicked community has to say. And we're going to read some articles. Natchiket, hello. Sam wearing a nice suit today. Yeah, thought I'd wear a a collar shirt. Um, ha! Tinkerbell, I'm going to the movies dressed like a hobbit on purpose. Nice. Nice. Oh, AC, I'm glad you're on. Was starting to feel lonely amidst people. Man, I know that feeling. Tinkerbell, yay Canada. Yes indeed. Canada, I'm sorry I missed your big day on July 1st. In fairness, it was my sister's birthday, but I'm sorry. Here's our makeup. You can have July 4th because we sure as hell didn't use it. We didn't earn it this year. Good day, neighbors, says Nina Canadian. Nina Canadian, actually, what's something we can celebrate about Canada these days? Give us a recent development because there ain't nothing to celebrate about the United States, except maybe that the Democrats are finally saying we need to give you a real candidate. I wish they would have done that when Joe Biden, participated in a genocide, but that's the state we're in right now. Tinkerbell, I'm making the boys go with me to Inside Out 2. I wasn't going to go, but my therapist friend basically was like, okay, no, you got to take them, even though they are too old and too cool for Pixar. That's adorable. All right, lovely. Well, in honor of our Canadian friends, I've done my morning pour. I've got a cup of Joe. I'm a big fan of Grizz's morning pour. It gets me awake. Anti-corporatist man. I miss doing stuff like that with my kid. Maybe I'll get to see him more soon. I hope so, AC. I hope so. Good afternoon, Saucy Sea Witch. I'm sorry if I just deleted that. Now there we go. Oh, everyone missed Canada Day, says Nina Canadian. Jake was the only one that noted he would make it up later in the week. Well, heck yeah. It's my pleasure. Hopefully it is worth it. Where is Sam Cedar? I thought this was the majority report. You're listening to Mr. Fun. I'm not sure what the majority report is. But this is Mr. Fun. Whatever the majority report is, I hope you like shows about leftist political commentary. Oh yeah, the viewer drop just plummeted. Great. It's a leftist political commentary show where we talk about the goings on of a collapsing empire and our friends around the world. Bella Lugrisi, hello. And Trevor Borens, I'm not sure if I put your message up, but it's going up while I readjust my camera. Psha. Okay, great. This is there we go. We're back, baby. Well, I got a couple of articles which I think sum up how I feel about my own country, and then I want to look at the little bit of the political layout in Canada because Trudeau's had a rough go of it lately. And, he's an imperfect politician, understatement of the year. He's a, centrist lib. You know how that goes. But we need everybody who's not a wackadoo to stay right where they are. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. But first, let me talk about my good pal, uh, whoever the hell, Jackie Calms. Jackie Calms wrote an opinion article, which I think professionally sums up the things I want to say with, four-letter words. Well, I don't feel that America has really earned Independence Day this year, and great. And to that end, it's on account of the Supreme Court. Jackie Calms with the Los Angeles Times did a great article on it. Let's check it out. So, if you're not aware, we now live in essentially a monarchy in the U.S. Here's the article. Calms Supreme Court's immunity decision makes a mockery of the 4th of July. Get rid of that there. Uh, it is, after all, the 248th anniversary of America's founders declaring their independence from a king. But I'm guessing Samuel A. Alito Jr. and his flag loving wife, Vergonia, Martha Ann, are celebrating that. And his fellow right wing Supreme Court justices have made a king of our presidents, just when it seems more likely that Donald Trump could be restored to the throne. The court's ruling Monday in the appropriately titled Trump versus United States was a gift to the former president. Trump got just about everything he asked for, despite the majority's specious attempts to make it seem otherwise. Absolute or presumed immunity for official acts, which the court defined in a way that could encompass much of what the January 6th criminal indictment alleges the former president illegally did to overturn the 2020 election. Pause. I wonder, I wonder if it, how much stuff this guy did behind the scenes. Here's the point I'm making. It's a somewhat nonsensical ruling, just when you translate it to regular person logic. Um, if by the logic of the court ruling, if official act doesn't get further defined, then Trump could show up at a bank, say, "I'm the president, and as president, I'm robbing this bank and killing the people inside." He could then shoot all the people inside, uh, peel up the bloody dollars off the floor, shove them into a bag. He wouldn't be able to open the vault even if it was left open a little bit for him. He just doesn't have the wherewithal to figure that out. But he'd find a way to get the drawers open, shove that all that cash into a bag, and walk out. And nothing anybody could do about it because, after all, he said it was an official act. If that sounds nonsensical, I agree, and it can be argued in a courtroom that that's the case. However, official act has, I think, intentionally not been defined. And the reason I think it has not been defined is because if Trump becomes president, the Supreme Court will turn around and say, yeah, everything he did when he said he was doing it as the president counts, including that bank scenario. However, if Trump does not become president and Jan 6 immunity stuff comes up to them again, where they're asked to define official act, they may say, oh, no, no, of course not. It has to be something that is traditionally within the bounds of the presidency, meaning they've given themselves all the power again. I would also point out they'll give Trump immunity if we just have a weak Democrat and a unengaged populace. So, if the political landscape looks as though America is holding these people accountable and angry when they're not held to account, what is, I think, very likely to happen is Jack Smith will carry on and simply argue in court that none of what Trump was doing, including pressuring Brad Raffensperger, Georgia Secretary of State, uh, none of that was an official act. Those were all things he was doing as a candidate for president. And I think he will point to the fact that you cannot you're not supposed to be able to give campaign speeches, using official White House materials. You're not supposed to be able to do that because it's an unfair advantage. Similarly, it's an unfair advantage if you use your powers as president to rig the election. Quick aside over. Also, the court's delay, taking months to decide the case, and with its decision imposing time consuming pretrial proceedings to determine what is or isn't covered by the court's immunity notions, ensures that Trump will not be tried before the 2024 election for seeking to steal the previous one. The classified documents case in federal court in Florida and the state case in Atlanta alleging Trump pressured Georgia officials to flip Joe Biden's 2020 win there, both already slowed for various reasons, will be further sidetracked as the justice's decision is parsed. The ruling also threw into doubt Donald Trump's recent conviction in the only criminal trial he has faced so far in Manhattan. On Tuesday, Judge Juan M. Merchan delayed Trump's sentencing from next Thursday to September 11th to weigh the ramifications. The case involved Trump's personal acts in fraudulently reporting hush money payments to a porn star before the 2016 election, so not an official presidential act, but his lawyers argue that some of the evidence that convicted Trump came from his time as president and thus should be off limits by the high court's holding. Let's Let's just read this sentence. I'm skipping down. Happy Independence Day. Millions of us, with a question mark, millions of us might be sorely tempted to fly our flags upside down on the universal sign of dire distress. It was 50 years ago this month that a very different Supreme Court unanimously ruled in the United States versus Nixon, just 16 days after oral arguments in the case, that President Nixon had to turn over Oval Office tapes to a special prosecutor. The recordings put him at the sordid center of the Watergate scandal and led to his resignation weeks later. Let me just make it clear what happened there, because now we know what these courts are. Those tapes had to be turned over because there was not all conservatives on the Supreme Court back then, and the political class chickened out on Nixon. I don't want to say they were appalled because conservatives don't have ethics, and they never have, in my opinion. I know we've had conservative Democrats and left leaning Republicans, but you can divide whether or not they are uh, capable of possessing morality, um, based on the conservative or liberal thing, or left or right, if you want to put it even more broadly. On the right wing, they don't have any concept of ethics. So what would have happened in Trump's case if we had a Nixonian setup where the right had chickened out already is quick decisions from the court to the obvious questions Trump asked instead of delayed, ridiculous decisions. Jumping down. During Watergate, neither the Supreme Court nor anyone else thought the former president had anything like, or thought that former presidents had anything like the criminal immunity suggested by the Republican justices Monday. As Sotomayor noted, both President Ford's pardon of Nixon and Nixon's acceptance letter explicitly assumed that he was liable for, as Nixon wrote, any charges which might be brought against me for actions taken during the time I was president. Why else would there be a pardon? John Dean, who was Nixon's White House counsel before he testified against him and went to prison for obstruction of justice, expressed his outrage at the decision by reviving an infamous Nixon quote: "When the president does it, that means it's not illegal." Richard Nixon, 1974, affirmed by the U.S. Supreme Court, 2024. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. And yet, that's where we stand. So that, folks, is why I am not celebrating July 4th today. But don't worry, we'll still have fun. Let's see what the Wicked community has to say. Oh, good Lord. Jumping down. Let's see what he says. Oh boy. Romac. Oh, wait a minute. Roma Check 75 says he thinks Trump will lose the election, cry to SCOTUS, and SCOTUS will install him back in the White House. Of course, we won't have that, and that's why he's making threats of violence against us. And then adding on to that, he also thinks there are I don't know who he is in this. I'm sorry I didn't see it. There are top brass within the military that are in on it. They're just laying low. Here's the thing. Not sure I agree with that first assessment. I don't think there's anybody in the military brave enough to try a coup from scratch, but I do think there are traitors in the military just waiting for another January 6th. I think they're waiting for law-abiding citizens and their representatives in the form of Democrats to call for help so that they cannot answer. I think Mike Flynn was a bullet dodged. Mike Flynn would absolutely lead anti-democratic forces against the people of the United States. We are seriously talking about bloody revolution and not the good kind in America. I mean, we're genuinely just barely holding back the tide of an authoritarian regime, which is theocratic, basically U.S. Taliban. Imagine if the Taliban had the U.S. nuclear arsenal. Remember how casual Trump was with threatening other world leaders with nukes? Not even other world leaders. He threatened God with nukes. Dude was willing to nuke tornadoes just to see what would happen. Sorry, rest of the world, but that's the state America's in. We might want to have a conversation after we wrestle the controls away from these motherfuckers about whether or not this country can be trusted with a nuclear arsenal at all. I think no. I think no country should have that level of devastation. I'd be willing to have a supply of world nukes that multiple countries, an alliance of countries, held control over. But I think we've demonstrated in the last few years that we're not stable enough as a country to trust ourselves with such devastation. Saucy Sea Witch, I live on an island so we can cut off the causeway. Oh, that's lovely. Hey, I know that gal. I'm so sorry I was late. I was outside in the garden and now it's too hot. Well, that's all good. Sandy, you know you got an open invite if you ever want to chat. Yeah, Bob Menendez really has ethics. Not sure where that came from, but staunch disagree. Nina Canadian. Can Biden, with all his power, take down the Electoral College rules, fix problems that led to George W. Bush and taking the throne? No, he can't, is the answer. He has not been, I mean, setting aside he wouldn't lift a finger to help anybody. But can he? Also, no. The ruling didn't it didn't give him infinite power. It just gave him immunity from criminal prosecution. So it didn't expand the orders he's allowed to give legally. But that's the thing. He could say, um, you two soldiers, load up your guns, come with me. We're going to the homes of the people in the electoral college. And then he could point those guns at them and say, hey, if you don't vote the way I want you to vote, I don't care what your state said. If you don't vote the way I want you to vote, I'm going to kill your family. I'm going to leave this guy here. He's got a cell phone. I'm going to call it. He's going to tell me how you voted. And if you didn't vote the way I wanted, I'm going to tell him to kill your family. He can do that. That's legal now. But it's still, once again, on the regular Americans to make the right decision. So that member of the Electoral College would just have to say, well, country's more important than my family. But as we've established, Biden won't do anything like that. That I would not want him to do, but he also can't send those same gentlemen with guns to Mar-a-Lago, which now he could do. He could order the CIA to go kill political opponents if he wanted. He won't do that either. And I actually don't want him to do that either. I want Trump properly imprisoned. That said, what I would like him to do is send those CIA fellas to all of the Supreme Court justices who the Republicans put in the last couple of years, because those were unlawful. They bent the rules to get Amy Comey Barrett and Kavanaugh in. I think those two got to go. So yeah, send the CIA guys. It's legal now. Go for it. They decided it's legal. I mean, Louis DeJoy is still the freaking postmaster general, and he bets on whether mail-in ballots get in a timely fashion. Yeah, it's sick that that guy has stuck around. Saucy Seawitch, we have conservative politicians in Canada suggesting we need to do things to our Supreme Court to interfere with abortion laws. Show them America. Saucy, show them America. Use us as an example of what not to do. When you have people in your country uh, looking at us and applauding, bring up our decline. You can watch it on charts and graphs. Truly. Look at our decline over the last 40 years in comparison to the rest of the world. And when I say charts and graphs, that sounds vague. Like, oh, but what statistics am I talking about? Almost any you can look up. You will see numbers that look like this. They start here, America's here, rest of the world's like here. And the rest of the world goes like this, and America goes like this. Education, free time, happiness, health, our technology in comparison to the rest of the world, our what do you call it? Our GDP in comparison to the rest of the world. We're losing our edge, and it's because of conservatives. I would advise you in Canada on this most treasured belated Canada Day to be brutal when you talk about your southern neighbors, and make it clear. Don't ever be polite. It's a mistake. Conservatism did it. Reaganism did it. It's a weakness. If you are admitting to being a conservative, you are admitting to a brand of weakness. It's like how cancer has many it's a family of diseases. It has many different types of cancer. Yeah, any kind of conservative is just describing the type of deadly disease, deadly political disease you are. Um, if you're saying you're conservative, for example, because you like their monetary policies, how they handle money, then you're admitting how little you know about money. That's all you're doing. You're saying I'm educated enough to understand that it would be an embarrassment to say that I'm conservative for the social policies. So I understand at least a little bit about social policies, but I'm pig ignorant when it comes to how to run a nation's economy or how that ought to be run, which is why I've just said I'm a conservative for financial reasons. Just be honest with people about that. Make sure that culturally it's an embarrassing thing to admit to being a conservative because it should be. It genuinely should be. Anyone who is a conservative these days uh, is in fairness, with a bit of kindness, is most likely just a dupe. They're just a mark that was successfully scammed. That's probably what they are. But there's a chance they're the other thing you could be, which is evil. Evil as hell. It's one or the other. Saucy Sea Witch, geez, says anti-corporatist. These men with their abortion takes. You don't see women butting in on prostate health. Fantastic choice of words. Ha ha ha! Damn show title tricked me. Yes, this is Mr. Fun. Hey, speaking of, if we make it to $100 in donations, let's say. If I manage to trick enough people with the show title Mr. Fun, uh we'll do an episode of Diversity Squad. That's right, folks. It's back, baby. If we make it to $100 in donations, Diversity Squad. Environmental Coffee House. A few of my right wing idiot friends say I don't understand Trump. They say this is all overblown and he's not following Project 2025. They are the ones that are delusional. Yeah, tell them that. Yeah, I'm sure you do. This is Sandy we're talking about. She's told him. But uh uh yeah, we've allowed too many people to live comfortably in cruel ignorance. Ooh, mercy. I'm gonna jump down on these comments because they're coming. Oh, wait, you know what? Can I show that banner full of comments? I'm gonna edit layout. I'm gonna add an item. Dynamic camera grid? Ooh, media slot? Oh my god, folks, I'm just now realizing. I'm just now realizing some of the functionality I have here. Oh, this is delightful. Maybe though, it's best done later because I'm not sure how to turn it on. Tamara Chance. Hello to you, my friend. Mr. G, I never know when Jake and when Jake's going to be on, so I'm always late to the party. It's all good. I also am always late to the party. I meant to start at 12 today. Oh, I just want to tell everybody before we go into the next story, if we make it to $100 in donations today, we will do Wicked Diversity Squad. Looking forward to that. I do hope we get the opportunity because that's a fun stream. Also, if you have people that you would very much like to be on Diversity Squad, let me know. I'll send an invite. I can't promise they'll be on, but I certainly will send an invite. All right. Give me about 30 seconds to pound this coffee, refill it, and I'll be right back because I must load this up anyway. Back in 30 with more Mr. Fun. What happened to that boy? I don't remember how that song ends. Welcome back to Mr. Fun, your favorite sneaky show that takes place when Majority Report is off the air. We're looking at the downfall of the United States as well as checking in with our friends from Canada, enjoying a happy Canada Day, and possibly doing Diversity Squad if we are able to get $100 in donations. Oh, mercy. Oh, wait a minute. Bella Lugrisi, nobody ever listens, do they? They call you hysterical, a fearmonger, a doomer. A little validation would feel nice. Hey, you're with a group that validates your feelings. You are not hysterical or fear-mongering or a doomer. In fact, let me hysterically fearmonger this doom news, because I happen to think if you're freaking out, you're paying attention. Yeah, it's not good news, how the nation is being run currently in the U.S. This is going to be our last "Why I'm Not Celebrating Fourth of July" story. Then we'll move on to some happy Canada stuff. But y'all should see this. So in the last 8 years, I have seen a new norm arise, and it's terrifying. The new norm is this: stories that in any point in America's history prior would have been the main story of the year have become easy to miss. Basically, the right wing is attacking America democracy with a hatchet so viciously that we don't notice that we're also getting stabbed in the guts with a shiv. And we've been stabbed a lot. Here's one such example. She exposed how the nation's poorest state spent federal welfare money. Now she might go to jail. This is by Ken Delanian and Laura Strickler on NBC News. When Anna Wolf won the Pulitzer Prize for her dogged reporting on Mississippi's welfare fraud scandal, she had no inkling she was soon going to have to contend with the possibility of going to jail. But just over a year after she secured journalism's top award for exposing how 77 million in federal welfare funds just went to athletes, cronies, and pet projects, she and her editor, Adam, I can't even begin to pronounce that name, but I'll try anyway, Gana Cho, are contemplating what to pack for an extended stay behind bars. Sued for defamation by the state's former governor, a top subject of their reporting, they have been hit with a court order requiring them to turn over internal files, including the names of confidential sources. They say that the order is a threat to journalism and that they will resist. If one of us goes to jail, we will be the first person to go to jail in the Mississippi welfare scandal, Wolf told NBC News. referring to the 8 indictments that stemmed from the imbroglio, none of which has yet resulted in a sentence. Isn't that a surprise? When they can't when the people who control us in the United States, when our oligarch class cannot have a case thrown out totally because they blatantly did something. They do this. They delay. They delay and they delay and they delay, and they hope that we forget. And the miserable thing is we usually do. It's not our fault though. The reason we forget is this stuff happens constantly. We are surrounded by rich people living by different rules than we do. We're surrounded by the worst crimes you can imagine, being committed by the worst people you can imagine, who are all rich because in America we reward scum. Enough. This needs to change. How can I make promises to sources that I'm going to keep them confidential if this is possible? The case has drawn attention beyond Mississippi as an example of how public figures can make life difficult for news organizations long before they have ever presented evidence of the actual malice needed to prove defamation cases. Mississippi, yeah, that's worth pointing out. Even if she gets found totally innocent, nobody can do anything to her. Damage, not all the damage, but damage has already been done. These people are being told, yeah, you can are being able to say, look, we can throw you into court if we want. We can drag you into court for a criminal trial if you anger us with reporting about the things we've done. That's a punishment in and of itself. What ought to happen in a just country is that the people who tried to drag her into court should themselves be charged with abuse of power, because that is what this is. If we don't have a law that specifically allows for this, we need to write the law, and then we need to ensure that the law is enforced. And I dare say we need to punish those that fail to enforce it if that should arise. That is, I think, where America starts to turn around if we pull out of this thing. Putting in laws that punish people for dereliction of duty, because too many people are very casual about not pursuing the rich in court. And it needs to end. Oh, Mississippi Today, the independent nonprofit organization that employs Wolf and G-Man, is asking the state Supreme Court to overturn the order Bryant appointed 4 of the 9 justices. Breaching the confidentiality of sources violates one of the most sacred trusts and breaks one of the most vital tools in investigative journalism, Ganucho wrote in a recent New York Times op-ed. No serious news organization would agree to this demand. The plaintiff in the defamation. Yeah, let me read that. Andy Lack, former chairman of NBC News, is executive chair of Mississippi Today's board of directors. Good on them for disclosing that, but it doesn't change the facts of the article. The plaintiff in the defamation case is Phil Bryant, who was governor when the scandal erupted, first with a report by the state's auditor, then with a blizzard of coverage by Mississippi Today. Bryant, who has not been charged with a crime and says he did nothing illegal, claims the online news organization wrongly accused him of criminal conduct. He declined to be interviewed, but his lawyer, Billy Quinn, said the lawsuit is not about punishing good reporting. Pause. That's exactly what it's about. I didn't sue them because they exposed 77 million worth of misspending. Pause. That's exactly why I sued them. He applauds them for doing that, he said. This suit is about defamation. The scandal came to light after Wolf began asking questions about how a poor state rejected more than 90% of the people who applied for welfare. I suspect these are people named Deshaun or Trayvon or Johnny Black Guy. I don't have a big list of names that I know are black, but that, whatever a honky would think sounds like a black name. That's what I suspect. She wanted to know where the federal money was going. Her queries led to a referral to the state auditor, who published a scathing report in 2020 questioning more than $90 million in spending. The details were stunning enough to make national news, though not surprising to many Mississippians who expect their government to be corrupt. Mississippi, stop voting for conservatives. People who vote for conservatives are either marks or they're evil. Look in your pockets. Are you rich? Nope. Then you're a mark. Stop voting for conservatives. I don't care if it's embarrassing to admit you're wrong. I happen to think it's freeing to admit you're wrong. But frankly, I don't care how you feel about it. What I need you to do is take your feelings and throw them into hell where they belong. And stop voting for people that you and your children over. I don't care how happy they make you when they make black people uncomfortable. They're stealing from you. 90 million, it would seem. At least 77 million in America's poorest state, where only a few thousand families a year qualify for welfare. White state officials and their associates diverted huge sums of federal money intended for poor and mostly black. Called it women and children, according to public records. The money went instead to, how is it? Pause. How is it, gang, that I knew that would be part of this? Hey, Mississippians, how come when I read the first sentence in that paragraph, I knew what the last sentence would be? Let me give you a little hint. I wanted to read this live. Haven't read this article before. How did I know for sure that the money was being taken from black folks? Because you all have a history of doing that. Because Republicans do that. You all are very comfortable in Mississippi thieving from black folks and then turning around and calling them all kinds of rotten things. That's your character. That's how a Yankee views you, and looks like I was right. That is who you are until you choose to elect other people. Mississippi. Easily the worst M state in the country. An absolute disgrace. If you feel ashamed, good. The money went instead to well-connected people and their favorite causes. Oh, look at that. Poor white, uncollege educated Mississippians who constantly vote for Republicans. Didn't go to you. Never goes to you. It just didn't go to black folks. Stolen from them went instead to your boss and your boss's friends. People who genuinely look down on you and think very little of you. And you know what? Maybe they're right. Because you keep falling for their scam, maybe they should look down on you. Stop falling for their scam, and I'll stop looking down on you. They never will. The rich never will. I will respect you if you have the strength to learn from your mistakes. But first admit they were mistakes, because they just were. All right. Soapbox down. Money went instead to well-connected people and their favorite causes. Public records show, most of which had little to do with helping poor people. They included a volleyball facility that cost more than $5 million at the University of Southern Mississippi for volleyball. Could have fed kids. Nope, kids had to skip meals. Instead, volleyball. A project championed by former NFL star Brett Favre, who had the money himself, whose daughter happened to be on the volleyball team there. Well, that's shocking. Favre, who has not been charged, also received $1.1 million for purported promotional efforts, and a drug company in which he owned stock, Pravicus, received 2.1 million according to public records. Favre lobbied the governor to help secure the money according to text messages obtained by Mississippi Today. So understand, poor Mississippians. I thought I was done with you. I'm not. Understand. One rich asshole who you helped make rich because you couldn't you just had to watch him play football. You know what? Fair enough. One rich asshole texted, didn't even have to make a phone, texted another rich asshole who you put into power because you're too pig ignorant to watch anything but Fox News. He said, I understand that the taxpayers gave you $90 million. I understand that I'm already a multimillionaire, but my daughter's in volleyball. Can you give $2 million to that team? Can you give me $1 million? Oh, excuse me. No. Can you give $5 million to build a new facility? Yeah, great. I'm Brett Favre. I have this money already, but I'm going to steal it from the people for my daughter's volleyball team. Oh, by the way, while you're at it, give me personally $1.1 million to promote it or whatever the. Oh, by the way, give a company I'm invested in $2.1 million. If you ever hear anybody talk like if about Brett Favre as though he's impressive, as though like, oh look at that, he's a skilled businessman on top of being a great athlete. Make sure they understand he is not a skilled businessman. He's just somebody who is willing to thieve from the American people because his business got $2.1 million in stolen money. Mississippians, Brett Favre is not your friend. The people you have elected, not your friends. This, see you next Tuesday, not your friend. It's third and long, and we need you to make it happen. Favre texted Bryant on December 26, 2018. Bryant replied, I will open a hole by asking Mississippians to bend over and open their holes for you. I'm talking, of course, about their wallet holes. The question of Bryant's role in the spending key was a topic of reporting in the series of articles that won a Pulitzer, dubbed The Back Channel. It's now at issue in the defamation lawsuit. The investigation, published in a multi-part series in 2022, revealed for the first time how former Governor Phil Bryant used his office to steer the spending of millions of federal welfare dollars, money intended to help the state's poorest residents, to benefit his family and friends, including NFL Hall of Fame quarterback Brett Favre. Mississippi Today reported when the prize was announced. We are allowing this to happen. Whether through all the means America has at their availability. Let me try that again. Through all means Americans have at hand, we've chosen to use none of them. And we're allowing this to happen. What you can do on the other side. Pretty straightforward. In Mississippi, or if you know anybody in Mississippi, discuss this. Discuss it in the terms I did. Make it clear that conservatives are a bunch of damn thieves. If you want to make it easier for them, say Mississippi Republicans are a party of thieves. Stop voting for them. Stop vote. Don't put up with them. They thieve. They divert millions. Could have gone to you. Could have gone to people that could have been your customers. Nope. Went to Brett Favre. Has he ever showed up at your place of business? How much did he spend? Unless it was the full, what was it? 5, 6, 7, $8.1 million. Brett Favre. Talk with Mississippians about that. Vote blue, obviously, and make sure as many people as possible, especially those people who don't really follow politics, are aware of who Republicans are and what they do. It's not entirely out of the question to protest. I would very much like to see a protest outside Bryant's home because he deserves it. Maybe a protest outside the home of the judge that hasn't thrown this suit out because they deserve it too. I think judges in the United States are way too comfortable, and that ought to end with a quickness. Oh my gosh, let's check out some of these comments. Well, Donald James X, hello to you. Environmental Coffee House. Maybe Dusty has covered this. I haven't been able to watch his show because he's on When We Are or I Am. Oh, fair enough. Doesn't Dusty Smith live in Mississippi? Cult of Dusty. Yeah, let us know. Let us know. If he does, I want to talk with him. Scott Ward, good to see you. Supreme Court ruling really gives power to whoever determines what a lawful order is. They now control the military. Yeah. I mean that's it. Gang, I want to tell you if we get to $100 in donos, we're going to do a diversity squad. I'm just realizing it's a celebration though. Do I want to just do it for free? Nah, I'm a cheap motherfucker. Saucy Sea Witch. Oh, that's exciting. So the fact that the election is on November 5th is just icing on the cake. Shall I dust off my Guy Fawkes mask? November 4th, though, unless I'm mistaken. I'm just scrolling through comments to see if I have the context wrong. But no, U.S. elections, November 4th. November 5th, hopefully, is when Trump has a heart attack because he's watching the results pour in. Oh, great channel. I love recommendations. Anti-corporatist, that reminds me, there's a great channel that posts oh god, F this. Hassan VODs with timestamps. It's very helpful. Would be great if we get something like that for Dusty too. Yeah, I love channels that do that. There's like a cottage industry of channels that just like monitor a few other channels and aggregate their content. Exactly like what Yahoo News does, but with streamers. I love that. I'm not a fan of Hassan Piker. I don't like him. Uh, it's got nothing to do. It's got very little to do with his politics. Where I've disagreed with him is, on the grand scheme of things, minor, I suppose. But he just irks me, and this is coming from an irksome man myself. But he's just one of those dudes that rubs me the wrong way. 2024 U.S. elections, Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. Where is. I don't believe that's accurate. Where are you getting that information? Making me nervous. Roma check 75. How long has your account been in place? Saucy Seawitch. Google is telling me November 5th. Okay. When are the 2024 U.S. elections? Son of a gun. Gang, that might be on me because it is on Tuesday. Huh. Okay. November 5th it is. So November 6th is the day I'm looking forward to. I don't know why I was so sure. I was just certain it was Tuesday, November 4th, but computers tend to be right. So there we go. Oh, don't know what that's in reference to. Yeah, yeah, Bella Lugrisi bringing down the final word on the matter. Good old fashioned paper calendar. My calendar says November 5th. Fair enough. Mate. Good looking out, or I would have showed up entirely too early. Oh, who the hell am I kidding? I'm voting by mail-in ballot anyway. If I recall on time. Okay, so gang, let's do some Canada news. Ooh, Trudeau. So our two countries, Canada and the United States, are going through similar conversations right now for very different reasons. In the United States, we're saying, should Joe Biden be leading this thing for our party? Is this guy really the person we need to be leading us? And we're having that we're having let me try this again while I'm recording. So in the United States, we're asking, should Joe Biden be leading us? Because he just gave a debate performance wherein his brain appeared to be made out of soup. Similar conversation happening in let me check my notes here, Canada. And they're talking about Trudeau, but not for the same reason. Not because he opened his mouth and nonsense came out. Because they're actually paying attention to how neoliberal politics is becoming unpopular, and rightly so. Canadians, quicker than Americans, are figuring out that people are sick of thieving. They are sick of thieving. This is from The Guardian. After 9 years in office, is it time for Justin Trudeau to go? It's by Leyland Secco in Toronto. A Canadian prime minister who has outstayed his welcome, persistent inflation, a government bumped and bruised by scandal, and a fired up opposition leader itching for a public showdown. It was against this backdrop 4 decades ago, oh, this was clever, that Pierre Trudeau took his apocryphal walk in the snow and decided not to contest the next federal election. After a shocking upset in a safe electoral district and with a looming possibility of a blowout in the next federal election, Justin Trudeau's predicament closely mirrors that of his father. But the incumbent prime minister says he has no intention of stepping down, despite mounting evidence the public is growing increasingly weary of both his tenure and his Liberal Party. So here we're going to try to help each other out, Canada, because we can learn from each other. And that also means we can actively learn from each other, which means one of us can experiment and the other can learn from the results of that experiment and apply it to their own situation. Let's talk about similarities. I realize it's a mighty damn big thing for us to be comparing leaders here. But hear me out. Let me just at first acknowledge, because this show is Mr. Fun today. This is like we're both sitting in prison, and you reveal that you're there for tax fraud, and I reveal that I'm there for eating the entire staff of a Chili's, murdering and cannibalizing the staff of a Chili's. I want my baby back, baby back, baby back. Waiter's ribs. It's a mighty gutsy thing for me to be saying, yeah, we're the same cell, you know. Uh, but with that acknowledged, with it acknowledging that Trudeau is nowhere near as bad as Biden, let's just come out and say it. They do have to act in similar ways. For example, Joe Biden right now is being told by people in the Democratic Party, get the fuck out. Get out. You just did a terrible job. You don't have the sauce. to be the president, much less campaign for it. Get out. And then he turns around and he goes to the cameras and he says, I just talked to Corn Pop. And he says, we're staying with it. So we're staying with it. I don't know why it was George W. Bush, but it was. Yeah, no, he says he's staying in. Like there's no question at all. But my point is there is question. Even if he winds up staying in it, he's questioning right now. Similarly, Trudeau is questioning right now. You don't get the kind of results he recently got and not question whether or not he should stick around. Now, he is young. It's more likely that he's going to come to the answer, yeah, I should stay, but worth noting. Also worth noting that you guys seem to have a problem with royalty just like we do. The legacy candidates. Ooh, that sucks. In late June, Trudeau's party lost a by-election for a seat the party had held for nearly 3 decades, foreshadowing what pundits say could portend the collapse of the party's stronghold in Canada's most populous city. The loss has prompted soul-searching within the Liberal Party and renewed calls for a leadership change. Yeah, more similarities, his own people calling for his ouster. Earlier this week, it was reported that Trudeau will not attend the Calgary Stampede, which starts on Friday, the first time he will miss the festive, politically charged 10-day celebration in the conservative heartland since he became leader in 2013. The Stampede was canceled in 2020 and 2021 due to the coronavirus pandemic. Hello, information blur below the video. In an interview with CBC News on Monday, the first since his party's stinging loss, Trudeau addressed his political future, saying he had no interest in stepping down. There's always going to be lots of reflection after a tough loss, but there's also much to do, and I am committed to doing the work of bettering Canada every single day, he said. Days later, he told reporters he didn't want to sugarcoat the challenging loss. Let's talk about this for a moment. Mr. Trudeau, I assume a fan of the show. First of all, hello. Second of all, I have some advice. Do you want to be popular? In fact, this is for literally any politician. Do you want to be beloved? Do you want a legacy like Truman? Do you want the people to genuinely appreciate the fact that they put you in office? Go as far left as you can. Go over a corporation. Hamstring a thieving corporation and take a bunch of their money and give it to the people. And do it, legal like. You know, tax Nestle. Let's do a new tax, a big one, and give the money to the people. Pay for roads. Pick a far left policy. Pick a far left goal and accomplish it. As far left as you can get. Make it happen. If the Liberal Prime Minister did some NDP approved things, you would suddenly, in the span of however long it took to do it, go from being somebody people are talking about kicking out to the most beloved prime minister in Canada's history. That quickly. They would build statues of you. Just a few of these policies. And, pick them, whichever you want. Just know that it's got to go totally against your cunty liberal instincts. Meaning, instead of thieving from the people in order to fund your bribing of corporations, you would have to tax a corporation in order to fund an upgrade in the lifestyles of your constituents. Pick anything, literally anything that the farthest left folks in your country want done, and do it. and this whole story goes away. Joe Biden doesn't have that option. I mean, pause. If Joe Biden came out tomorrow, tomorrow's Friday. Yeah, okay. If Joe Biden came out tomorrow for his CNN interview that he's scheduled to do, and instead of saying I'm stepping down as president, if he said I am going to freeze all weapons shipments to Israel until they fully withdraw from Gaza, you would have the youngest, most energetic voters who are guaranteed to vote just about pouring out to support him, clashing with the centrist Dems who are trying to get rid of him currently. Instead of saying, yeah, get rid of the mother. No, you'd have those people. I promise you, 12% of Michigan would come out and support this guy. And just like that, the narrative about who Joe Biden is would change. It would go from daffy old man to daffy old man that we want to keep in office. Similarly, Justin Trudeau, you can do the same thing. All you got to do is stop being a neoliberal. If it feels like you're dying, if it feels like your political career is dying, it's because you are a neoliberal and that ideology is dying. People are fleeing the center. The center is neoliberalism. It's run both of our countries for the last 40 years. By the way, when it was studied, beginning in Chile, it was discovered that after about 40 years, neoliberalism turns to fascism. Don't be a neoliberal. Be almost anything else. I suppose neoliberal is better than just stated fascist, but not much better, frankly. It does not having the courage to say I'm not a fascist, or not having the courage to say you're a fascist, is, I don't know that it's better. Yeah, yeah, it's not as good as being too ashamed to say you're a fascist. It just means you're evil and a coward instead of evil and remorseful about it. And that's really neoliberalism in a nutshell. It's the path to fascism, with a bunch of people who expect to be in the class that doesn't get hurt by the fascists once we get there, and they'll turn around and pretend to be shocked, but they won't open their attics for us. Let's see what the Wicked community has to say. Remember, gang, if we get to $100 in donations, oh my word, Donald James X, thank you very much. If we get to $100, 95 to go. If we get to $100 in donations today, we are going to do Wicked Diversity Squad, the hottest new game from the Wicked Enterprises. Donald James asks, appreciate you doing a show today while most people are taking the day off. Well, it's my pleasure. Thank you, my friend. And it's good to see you. Oh, mercy me. Oh, good Lord. The AC is out in the theater, so no movie for us. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yowzes. Scott Ward, the situation in Palestine is an echo of the Esau and Jacob prophecy. Two brothers fighting over an inheritance. We should play the role of a mother and treat them equally. Yes. Yes. Thank you, Scott Ward. Very well put. Thank you. Saucy Sea Witch, the rich are currently trying to get Trudeau out because he went after their money. I believe it. And the problem, well, let me leave that up. The problem is that works. Uh, Lefties, not lefties, liberals back down all the time when the rich do this. But I'm of the belief that you just have to pick your enemies. And I know the rich will fund yada, 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 all kinds of campaigns to knock him out. But let me throw this at you. Can you imagine if Trudeau did something? This might be a poor choice of words, given that the NDP is not universally the left. But hear me out. NDP endorsed things, shall we say, very NDP leaning things. If he did that, and he has the momentum behind him, I know he went after their money a little bit, but if he has the momentum behind him, and then he turns around and limits who can donate to campaigns, therefore closing the door behind him, essentially. That is when you get things that you cannot buy with money. Because he doesn't, at this point in his career and his life, I mean, he's at a point where if he wants money for the rest of his life, all he has to do is go give one speech and he can live like a rich guy for another year. What he gets if he does that are statues, roads named after him, colleges named after him, chapters in history books. At some point, I like to think that these people can still be bribed by adoration. And I want to at least make the pitch to him that it makes more sense to keep going left than it does to flinch at the first sign of resistance. Of course, he's being attacked for daring to go after the piggies. But it doesn't mean he should stop. Environmental Coffee House, we help each other, sister. Yes, indeed. Thank you very much. That's $10, folks. If we get another $90, we're doing Wicked Diversity Squad. Teddy Cool, hello to you, sir. Germ, well, Israel and Palestine aren't equal. One is a massive nuclear power backed and funded by the U.S. Well, fair. Palestine, Gaza, West Bank is an open air prison. Accurate assessment. But yet, I still feel they should be treated equally in negotiations, simply because there's the strength of the country should be irrelevant. We should be saying what can you not do? You cannot attack the civilians of another country. And you'll say, but, look at how many more Israel did, yada, yada, yada. Sure. Are we going to put a penalty on that? I mean, if we're talking about negotiating for peace, you can't say you owe us more peace because you killed more of our people. Peace is complete. It's absolute. There's an infinite amount for everybody. Point still taken. Israel is a bully in this situation. If you're talking morality, you have my agreement. If you're talking what to do with a plan, then I say that's irrelevant. And we treat them like they're equal for the sake of speeding up the peace process. At least that's my understanding of the situation, which is riddled with pot. Saucy Sea Witch, this year the Liberals introduced universal dental care. Bada boom. A $10 a day child care, a solid plan for a housing that bypasses the provinces who take money. The this is what's killing me. The NDP has chosen to attack him and risk it all. Yeah, I regret using NDP as a stand-in for a left-leaning party because they have been disappointing lately. And I thank you, by the way, for pointing out that there have been some proper policies pursued by the Liberals of late. I maintain, though, that the strategy for any politician in Trudeau's position is to lean left, keep doing it, double down on it, do it, just pick somebody and kill them. A corporation, I mean. Fine, I promise you, Canada's a huge country. Somewhere in it, there is a corporation who is deserving of a massive fine. Uh, Retaliate against the business class because they're trying to be the oligarchy class. Retaliate and say, okay, you want to play this game? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pass a policy that cripples this monster over here, who I've allowed to exist because I had too much on my plate. Not that they deserve to exist, but simply I was too busy. Now you've annoyed me. So here's what's going to happen. Nostalgic. Knock them out. I think we're in an era where we're in a quiet war, a quiet and boring war with businesses. And I think the way to respond to an attack is not to give ground. And I think, by the way, Trudeau's responding correctly so far. He's saying, I'm not going to go, I'm not going to go. But I hope he means it. I realize not a lot of lefties are not pleased with Trudeau either. I don't know enough about parliamentary systems to say whether or not he was a good leader, but as an outsider looking at how my neighbors run things, well, my own country has been an absolute disaster. Pretty solid job, and I would hope he sticks with it. But go further left, and apologies for me giving the NDP unjust credit. They're, you know what, Saucy? Let me toss this at you. What's wrong with the NDP these days? Uh, Jagmeet Singh seemed like a golden boy for a while, didn't he? He seemed like a great fella, and then I feel like reality hit, and he was kind of two-faced. And now the NDP seems to be playing political games with policies that we actually want passed. In my mind, a progressive does not play political games, does not allow political games. Rather, I think they can play political games, but they don't allow them to interfere with progress. Give me your thoughts, please. Anti-corporatist member for 13 months. Thank you, AC. Wow. I've been a channel member for 13 months. What was happening 13 months ago? Wow. And it lets me have 150 characters for that. Sweet. Heck yes. I don't know what was happening 13 months ago, but I'm deeply terrified to check. There we go. The NDP are infighting because of war in Gaza. That makes very little sense to me. I'm assuming you have people who understand what Israel is versus people that think Israel equals Jews. That's the best I can offer. Cripes, why do I keep waiting for that to get warm? As opposed to hot. Rex Trek. I hate this last timeline. I hate this timeline. My last 20 years on this rock are gonna suck. Not necessarily so. So, couple of things, Rex Trek. First of all, look on the bright side. You might get hit by a bus. Maybe you're in year 19 of your last 20, and you'll be going for groceries next year, and a bus instantly runs you over, and then you'll arrive in hell next to me. Same bus. I was just down the block, and you'll be like, oh, look at that. I had Obama during some of those. But also, you may live much longer. And also, we may be on the verge of a nonviolent revolution. Frankly, I think that's what we need. Frankly, I think we need to team up with the MAGA types and convince them to join us in this nonviolent revolution. It's a fitting day to talk about it, by which I mean belated Canada Day. A nonviolent revolution where we rebel at the ballot box. If we can start by simply kicking Republicans out of the House, Senate, and White House, we're going to be on path for about a 12-year plan of fixing America. Year number one, get rid of all Republicans in government, at least all Republican control of government. Year eight is going to be get a progressive president and have them run based off the momentum of uh, of people being sick of the old way of doing things. Run based off a message of, are you sick of it being either a Republican or a Democrat for your whole damn life and nothing changing? If you're genuinely sick of that, vote for me. Nina Canadian, CBC asked citizens for 3 words to describe Canada. Some said diversity, progressive, love, diverse, quality of life, moving forward with climate change and reconciliation, peacekeepers by nature. Mm, I'm looking for the rest of that comment. I don't see it. Well, well, I missed it. I'm sorry. Saucy Sea, which we also have foreign interference from multiple countries, including Russia, China, and India. Some countries were redacted in the report, which I assume is the US. Yeah, for sure. um, here we go. In answer to my earlier question, Jagmeet Singh is also due for his pension. Is also due for his pension next year. He's trying to make it until then, and I think we may see a leader switch before the election. Thank God. I will see you, Sandy. I hope you enjoy listening. Tinkerbell, people have been duped by Israel lobby money. Yes. Yes, sir. That's it exactly. Oh God, lightning rod. Good point. Fires were happening 13 months ago. Yeah, Canada was burning 13 months ago. Scott Ward, the best thing you can do to fix inflation is to save your money. Prices will drop if we try to save money. No major purchases. Get the paper out of circulation. The value of money will rise. Great point. I am down for doing that. If you can afford to save. And just restating Saucy's point, we also have foreign interference from multiple countries, including Russia, China, and India. Some countries were redacted in the report, which I assume is the U.S. Almost certainly. The Carnation Revolution, but in America. Ignorant Jake looking this up. All right, gang. Remember, if we get to $100, and I'm going to count the anti-corporatists as $20. Remember, for 13 months, $20 added. So we are at $30. If we can get 70 more dollars, we are going to do Wicked Diversity Squad. First, and we're gonna wish a mazel tov to Saucy Sea Witch. My youngest son was born 2 days after our worst wildlife fire last year. Spent a week in the hospital because they didn't want us in the smoke. My God. Happy, first of all, your son might be the prince that was promised. Did anybody cry at the birth? He might be the prince that was promised. Second, happy almost first birthday. Happy 11th month anniversary for your son's existence. Um, oh my God. Yes, from where I was here, it looked like the sky was on fire for a week. It was hard to breathe. Jordan Peterson has me blocked after I told him to fornicate himself with an iron stick on Twitter. He is the worst. Yeah, I mean, that's a good reason to block someone. but he is the worst, and he deserves to fornicate himself with a hot iron. Osiris is currently spinning the cat dish like Archer. He is having a grand time now, growing like a weed. I love it. All right, gang. We're gonna do while I refill this cup of Joe. We're gonna do one more 30-second break. I'm going to look at the Carnation Revolution with you. I'm trying to think of a funny way to say I'm an ignorant, but I couldn't think of one. I'm an ignorant. I have no idea what the Carnation Revolution is. So we're going to learn about it together. And if you already know, yourself. Also, thanks for telling me. 30 seconds. See you in a moment. And we're back. Carnation Revolution. What's that? I ask to you, the audience. Well, we'll learn together. Here is the Wikipedia article. I'm intentionally keeping myself ignorant till reading it. I think it's fun to learn together. So, the pitch I have for a nonviolent revolution in the United States has been compared to the Carnation Revolution, also known as the 25th day April. It was a military coup? No, I don't want that. By military officers that overthrew authoritarian Estado Novo, the authoritarian Estado Novo government on the 25th of April, 1974 in Lisbon, producing major social, economic, territorial, demographic, and political changes in Portugal and its overseas colonies through the Processo Revolucionario em Curso. It resulted in the Portuguese transition to democracy and the end of the Portuguese colonial war. First of all, Portugal had a rough time of it in the early 1800s when this gentleman named Napoleon and his pals in Spain tussled with them. Apparently, it was a rough couple of 100 years after that because it wasn't until 1974 that they got a proper democracy. I say this because that's a very different set of circumstances leading up to their revolution. That makes it probably okay that it was a military coup because there was no other choice. We have a choice, and any time you have a choice to not use the military for a thing, take that option. Take the not use the military option. That's what I say. The revolution began as a coup organized by the armed forces movement, composed of military officers who opposed the regime, but it was soon coupled with an unanticipated popular civil resistance campaign. Here we go. Negotiations with African independence movements began, and by the end of 1974, Portuguese troops were withdrawn from Portuguese Guinea, which became a UN member state as Guinea-Bissau. This was followed in 1975 by the independence, yada, yada, yada. Lots of African countries gaining rights. Good. The Carnation Revolution got its name from the fact that almost no shots were fired from restaurant worker Celeste Caro after offering carnations to the soldiers when the population took the streets to celebrate the end of the dictatorship, with other demonstrators following suit and carnations placed in the muzzles of guns and on the soldiers' uniforms. I like that. I might get some carnations. Let's jump down to that whole nonviolent part of the revolution. Ooh, my God, this is super spooky. The coup had two secret signals. First, the disc jockey at Emissora's Associates Lisboa gave the time signal Falta cinco minutos es, oh my God, es 20 et tres at 10:55 p.m. on April 24th before turntabling Paulo de Carvalho's uh, Eurovision Song Contest entry. This alerted rebel captains and soldiers to begin the coup. The second signal came at 12:20 a.m. When radio blah 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 blah. All right, so radio things gave the signals, but I want to read about how the nonviolent part came to be. How the civil resistance came to be. Obviously, the two secret signals, those are done by disc jockeys. Hmm. All right, let's look at what sparked it, at least. Uh, in February 1974, Caetano decided to remove General Antonio de Spinola from the command of Portuguese forces in Guinea, and in the face of Spinola's increasing disagreement with the promotion of military officers and the direction of Portuguese colonial policy. This occurred shortly after the publication of Spinola's book, Portugal and the Future, which expressed his political and military views of the Portuguese colonial war. Several military officers who opposed the war formed the MFA to overthrow the government in a military coup. Uh, the movement was aided by other Portuguese army officers who supported Spinola and the democratic civil and military reform. In short, I don't know. Wikipedia doesn't say, so I'm turning to the Wicked community. Wicked community, do tell. Monday, no one online cared about Canada Day. When I watched the Canadian bragging mentioned earlier, thank you, I'll look for that, I regained some pride. So much negativity when we talk politics. Glad I know you progressives. Oh, it's my pleasure. Um, I'm sorry nobody talked about it. That sucks. Your old pal Jake is in much better. I dropped the ball. But if it's any consolation, at least when you talk about it, you can do so with pride because you have stuck to your guns culturally, politically. You, as Canadians, have been kind, strong, fair. You've been respectable. When you celebrate Canada Day, even if it's belated, you have reason to do so. People who are outside popping off fireworks this year in the United States are a joke because we do not have reason to celebrate. We ought not to be proud of ourselves this year. We are not American this year. This country is the shambling corpse of a democracy, and we should act like it. We should be a little bit solemn. Looks like violence wins when it comes to making change, says Donald James X. What if one side has all the guns and power? Violence doesn't always win. Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King. These are two people who showed us that not only does violence not always win, but sometimes you can use one side's tendency towards violence to uh, against them, basically. Civil disobedience wins. Um, Guns don't need to come into the picture at all. However, not just going along with an unjust system is needed. as put by Germ, peace under an occupation is a murky term at best. Exactly. Get arrested. Get arrested. Uh, uh, Disobeying unjust laws. Provide abortion pills. Drive somebody across state lines to get an abortion if they need one. Resist. Kind of, sort of. We have some work to do in the First Nations, says Saucy Sea Witch. Many have stopped celebrating Canada Day because of this or tone it down. We now have National Indigenous Day and National Multicultural Day. Well put and fair point. I'd say you have more reason to celebrate than we do, but the fact that you're hesitant to do that because you want to include your fellow Canadians, Indigenous folks, uh, gives me a massive amount of respect for you. As my black brothers and sisters in the United States would say, you guys are invited to the cookout. I can only invite you to my poorly seasoned cookout, but you're invited to mine for sure. National Indigenous Day is June 21st. National Cultural Day is June 27th, with Canada Day on July 1st. Some communities, like mine, try to include all in the same festival to help with awareness. That's a great idea. Pinkerbell, I am so here for subverting abortion restrictions. Absolutely. Any opportunity you get to help somebody break an unjust law, I say take. Also, if you're going to protest these things and you anticipate there being police resistance, genuinely, I know I joke about being pro suit, but in this case, I'm not joking. Dress in your Sunday best and allow yourself to be arrested. Make them arrest somebody who's dressed nice, somebody who uh, pings the cultural switches, the who touches cultural nerves that people who normally callously watch this stuff are not prepared to have touched. They expect to see somebody in a hoodie with a cloth bandana over their face as opposed to leather. No, they expect to see somebody in a hoodie with a bandana over their face, getting tossed around by cops, and they like seeing that. That's all is well to them. What they are not as prepared for is to see somebody in a suit or a sundress get thrown on the cement and handcuffed. When that happens, you are being effective. Even if they treat you gently, in some cases, that's even better. When they treat you gently, the pictures of that will resonate. So, dress nice and get arrested and break the law. Rock and roll lifestyle, man. Bella Lugrisi, you are the kindest country in the world. You are like a really nice apartment over a meth lab. Robin Williams on Canada. I mean, that's essentially it. Yeah. I don't want my best dressed day in the casket, Germ. I dress like I'm going to a funeral, to a wedding, to a fashion show, just about every day. Nina Canadian, I'm so glad that our First Nation tribes have been part of my Ontario upbringing. Finally, we are trying to save the lost languages and knowledge. Yeah, quick anecdote. There is strength in diversity. Case in point, we beat the Nazis in part because of Navajo wind talkers in the U.S. Also, millions of dead Ukrainians fighting them. But let's talk about diversity over here for a moment. Navajo wind talkers, which allowed us to make a code that the Nazis couldn't break. It's of use to preserve these languages. Also, we should do it just for the act of kindness. Also, we should do it just for the intellectual exercise. It once existed, we must remember it. But also, you can pitch this to callous people and say there is value in this knowledge. There's value in these people. And if you're not a dick about it, keep them around, appreciate them, and one day it does indeed pay off. Oh, oh, Bella Lugrisi. Love y'all. Going to jump in a lake. Cheers. Happy swim to you, sir. And I will remind you all. That we have someone joining us shortly. I'm very excited for this. I'm going to remind you all real quick that if we get to $100 in donations, we will play a game of Diversity Squad. We're at 30. Yet to make it to $100 on one of these, but I think we will one day. Hey, we have people joining us for Mr. Fun. Hi, the letter hack.
Hey, happy Joe Biden Day.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say, this is our belated Canada Day celebration.
Oh, my bad.
July 1st. I couldn't be happier with your choice of attire here, sir.
To all the Canadians, how's work going today?
Oh,
Up in America's cowboy hat. Sorry.
yeah. No, that's perfect. I called Michigan America's pompadour. That works really, really well
Oh, okay.
because the hair would go under, and then
I must be in America's cowboy boot
yeah,
where I am.
basically.
I'm thinking. Anyway, how's it going? I got a lot of weird DMs last night.
Oh yeah. I'm not sure how oh wait a minute. Hey, live show. Chill out for a second. I'm sending a private chat to Matt.
Okay, I have the private chat window open. No, yeah, sure, whatever. I don't care.
Okay.
I mean, because
Okay.
obviously last night we had the endless or the never-ending ending, and it did end. But for a while, we were saying some very untrue things. Like all my lie detector episodes were all lies and no truths. That
Well,
is a
that was the
lie.
one thing that was true.
No, that was definitely a lie.
Only that, everything else lies. Everybody loves my suits. Nobody
And
is annoyed by my suits.
and we're midway inventing our very own secret language. You know,
Well, that
oddly
one
enough,
also true.
now I want to tell people this. If you're ever freezing to death, wrap yourself in one of these. Very warm. Almost
Oh yeah.
too warm. Oppressive heat, I would say. Not comfortable.
But yeah. Oh, I would. First of all, it's just a good look. Second of all, I think now that I know you have that there, anytime you have a victory, you got to wrap yourself in that and run around like
USA.
post Olympic.
USA.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a fan of doing that whenever I f up. I like
Oh.
that as a pitch, just to sarcastically.
You just say,
Yeah,
you
that
know
was a
what?
great bit.
You say, this is America where we just try again. Okay, we'll get it right. Okay, so as bits go, not difficult. Really just watched tennis. Crushed a couple of cans of beer. That wasn't
It wasn't difficult, but it was more difficult than I thought it would be. And the reason being we had that stream going for 2 hours before we started it. I
yeah,
had OBS open, and when I sent you
three
that message,
hours.
3 hours. When I had that message, it's because I have like literally like close to a terabyte of storage space
Ah,
free, and it was filled.
you gotta delete some of that stuff.
No, I mean I installed new not
Oh, it's
hard
filled
drives,
from our
but
show.
yeah. That's an
Wow.
like a difficult to fathom amount of data. So something I'm running on OBS is just chewing through my storage.
Yeah, I'm seeing somebody in the chat saying Matt is stoned. Matt just woke up. Okay.
Mad.
Matt had a very late night. I drank 2 beers, and that'll do it. And I'll be asleep till, like, 2 o'clock the next day. Now, I didn't just wake up, but I slept in. So, you know, there are times where you will be you'll see the letter hack at, like, 1 AM and 6 AM online. I have had no beers, anything like that. Very easy to do. 1, 2 beers, I can't do it. I cannot withstand. Then you'll see me at 2 AM and 2 PM. Although I was doing a little bit of texting, just kind of groggy, half groggy this morning.
Oh God. No, I feel you. I first of all, I find it immensely charming that 2 beers will tucker you out. But on the other hand, 1 beer will tucker me out these days. So who am I to talk?
Yeah, I'm just not up to speed. So, what has the hour you've been on for an hour now? 2 hours? What's it been like? What have you been talking about here?
Well, a couple of things. We've been talking about why I'm not celebrating the 4th of July personally, because
Oh, am
I'm
I
disgusted with.
I overdressed for a change?
Ha! No, it makes me happy that somebody's representing, but we've been talking about Supreme Court decision, been talking about
Oh,
that gives presidential immunity. We don't have to keep going about that. We already did our fetching. Been talking about a decision in Mississippi to go after journalists for pursuing corruption. Then we talked about Canada, and I gave my very pathetically uninformed thoughts on Trudeau, and basically the summary is he's a liberal. He's slightly left centrist, but lately he's been actually pursuing left, like genuinely leftist policies. He's gotten pushback from centrists for that. And he lost a major election recently. I was saying, lean into it, go further left, and even attack back. Pick a corporation and make them a punching bag and tax the shit out of them. By the
keep it
way,
yeah.
this is what I was looking at last night. I want to know
Uh,
what you think. Imagine this as a concept: a
yeah.
members only jacket with the use of green screen.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go for it. I say do
If I
that.
can if I can figure out technologically how to run 2 green screens at once, oh dear.
That would be
Um, yeah,
technologically pretty cool. Look,
it would be.
about Trudeau, I don't have much of an opinion about this.
Go for it.
Although, I remember being incredibly irritated by the fact that when Trump was elected, everyone was like, "Isn't it cool that Canada's letting I think they were illegal immigrants here escape across that border?" And I was
Mm.
like, "Yeah, yeah." And they were like, "Oh, Trudeau is a badass. He's so great for that." And I was like, "Well, he and his family profit from the Keystone Pipeline, but please keep going." You know what I mean? Like,
No,
duh,
I don't see how those are related.
no, but I'm saying, like, that was happening at the exact same time. So the
Oh,
same
yeah.
people that were praising him were very horrified by pipelines
Oh, yeah.
in the US, and I was like, "Well, I mean, let's just not praise a politician for a country's policy, I guess, is what I'm saying." I found that to me, I was conflicted because I
Yeah,
was
no,
like, "Why are we
that's
happy
logical.
about it?"
Well,
Like, can
here's
we
the thing. I pathetically, I always agree with both sides, but I see the point that you're making. Like, the point they were making, I agree with. Yes, praise him for that. Yes, that was a good thing to do. But, like, looking at it from a broader perspective, which I think as presenters we tend to do because we have no choice. That's the perspective we arrange our shows from. It sucks to have to pick from the people that do good things occasionally, that are just a bunch of like criminals, like a bunch of the foulest human beings.
Well,
It's
and
like
in this
praising Al Capone because he let one person go, you know?
yeah, and in this case, it was like that the fact that he was benefiting from the pipeline stuff,
Yeah,
that was there before he was there, and the policy for Canada to let migrants through, that was there before he was there too, so it was just kinda like, this guy's just in the line of fire in a good way and a bad way, but at the same time, it gives people an opportunity to be like, "Whew, the heat is off for a little while. I'm the
yeah,
good guy again," instead of just being like, "No, no, no, don't worry, we're gonna fix everything." And, it's rare that you see, especially the leaders of nations, take ownership for everything that's wrong. It's like they always
yeah,
wanna be like, "That was the other guy," or,
yeah.
"I look at what I did that was good, and the other guy didn't." And it's like, why don't they ever work together? Why is it always opposition? Like, have Jake, when was the last time we had 2 presidents in a row that were trying to achieve the same agenda?
Really,
Like,
really
have
good
we
point.
had 16 years of that ever?
No.
Ever.
Eh,
And they wanna talk about wave
Fantastic
elections.
point.
It's like always over here, over here, over here, over I mean, we're literally rocking a boat that is America endlessly,
Uh,
and I'm seasick.
on a related to that, I would say that this is where I see, an opportunity for progressives in about 8 years. 4 years ideally, realistically 8 years.
Mhm.
If we have an election where Republicans as a party are stomped out, followed by an election where Republicans lose more power. I see an opportunity at the next presidential election for a genuine progressive to say, "Are you sick of what Matt just described? Are you sick of this silly back and forth wherein the only agreement between the two parties is that corporations are your masters?" Well, great news. Here's a party that's actually going to change that. Your boss will hate us, but you hopefully will love us. I think that's our opportunity. But we need
Eh
somebody with actual credentials.
Yeah, and it would have been I didn't hear any and maybe I just didn't hear it because 'cause I'm not a political analysis or analyst, but one thing and I'm sorry I derailed the Canadian Independence Day show.
Well, ironically, our fates are tied, so you're
Okay.
not derailing, in my
So,
opinion.
I didn't hear any primary challengers to Biden saying, "No, no, look, I'm gonna pick up where he left off and double it." Any good things? Yeah, Biden did some great things. Guess what? We're gonna do them again and more.
Yeah,
They were saying he's wrong. He's bad. He did it wrong. He's not doing enough. And all you gotta do is say, look, I'm a progressive. I'm going to take all the great things that are being done now by the current Democratic president and build on them and do them better and better. And we're all going to get in on it and you'll see it'll be great. Instead,
yeah.
it's like negative. And I think that to me, that's playing politics. That's where you're like, I'm going to say some things I don't really mean, but that's okay because it's for the greater good. Yeah, never
I
say die.
wholeheartedly, agree
Why
with
can't we
Binky
have
and
that?
you.
Why is everyone always like adversarial instead
You
of
bring up
fucking A?
y you bring up a fantastic point as well, which is that all the, to rephrase, all the arguments against that the Democrats would have against Republicans, progressives have against Democrats. You can literally turn to an audience and say, "Look, everything they brag about doing." Well, let me point over here. Everything they brag about doing is stuff that we wanted to do, but more. And they
Yeah.
resisted. We had to make them do it. Everything they're bragging about, everything they're embarrassed about, and try not to get you to pay attention to that they did is stuff we begged them not to do. So you can keep putting them in power, in which case you'll only get the things that what little power you allow us to have, we manage to force them to do. Or or you could put us in power, tell these bums to go f themselves, and actually experience the America that was promised, actually experience the Canada that is promised. Any country you're in has this ability to say this because throughout the world, we are experiencing the same thing right now, which is, in my opinion, a political awakening out of necessity.
Yeah, and I imagine, let's say you took that strategy. I'm a progressive presidential primary challenger or any kind of challenger. And I go, look, I support my opponent. I'm challenging them because I think I can build on what they're doing better than they are. I don't know why. Maybe it's their corporate influence. Maybe they just don't have the same experience or motivation that I have. All I'm saying is, I want to help them. I want to help achieve their policy in a way that I don't see them doing. Okay. If they did it, I would back off. Otherwise, I'm getting in
Oh
on
boy.
this because I want to help. So at that point, you want to see the establishment try and condemn me? What did I do? The only thing you can say at that point is that's an outright lie. He's actually a Republican in sheep's clothing or something like that. But
Yep.
the progressives aren't saying anything bad except when they're negative to their opponent. Otherwise, they're saying some very positive, good things that Hillary Clinton, whoever it is, can't really come out against a progressive. They can only come out in favor of the establishment in terms of don't change what we're doing now because we need more time or whatever
Yeah.
it is. We need to achieve these policies. In order to achieve these policies, we stay the course. A progressive will come in, shake things up, kind of hit reset, and it's like, no, no, I'm just going to build on what you're doing now. Here's how. And if you can do that, I'll back off. I won't primary you. Otherwise, it's like I'm not primarying you for my own political gain. It's your policies that I like that we're going to build up on. That
Absolutely.
seems like a winning strategy to me that I don't feel like I've seen.
I
What about
think,
you, Canada?
well, clearly, Saucy Sea Witch, I've been complaining about this for years. People are too worried about being king of the pile rather than working together.
Yeah.
Now, I partially agree, but I want to make centrist a dirty word
Yeah.
because
Okay.
centrist does not mean we work together. Centrist means we side with the other side against our base. A centrist Republican, good, just because they're more left than they otherwise would be. A centrist Democrat, bad, because they're more right than they otherwise would be. They're more right leaning, I should say, than
We
they
need to
otherwise
keep
would be.
coming left. We need to keep
Yeah,
pulling people
I,
to the left.
I think the argument to make is center of what? What is it you're compromising with? Let's look at the right wingers. The Confederate flags in both our countries, God help us. The neo-Nazis, your center of what compromise are you making? You only want to what? Partially defund social security? No. It's left or get out.
Yeah. And I think like you were making points on our show last night about it just all leading back to capitalism. That really is sort of a go-to thing that you can bring up, but that creates an opening for anyone else to go, "Oh, what then? Communism? Oh, socialism? You dirty social." You know what I mean? They've made those things dirty words in the way we want to make centrist a dirty word. And
Yeah.
so, it's to me it's like if Republicans are moving toward the center, that means they're moving left. If
So
centrist is moving toward the left, that means they can go further left. But I think the way politics is it's pushing everyone to their extreme. And so
good.
we're naturally gonna end up with a lot of people who are just not savable, way out there on the fringe right, far
The
right.
extreme I'm comfortable with a boxing match of the extremes because the extreme right is extremely evil and the extreme left is extremely good and it's blatantly so on its face.
Then you use
Just on its face.
the common enemy strategy. Like my
Yes, the rich.
centrist primary opponent and I have the same enemy. We need to team up. Now look, if they're willing to achieve the things that I'm applauding them for doubly so, I'll back off. I'll support them however I can. Meanwhile, I'm here for you, citizens.
So
Anyway,
I'm
that's
I'm a big fan of making an enemy out of the oligarchs because I think they actually are our enemies. I
yeah,
think what we
that
answer
meme
all these
that meme where the rich guy's got, like, a bowl of cookies, and there's a
yes.
dude to the right with 1 cookie, and he's like, "This immigrant wants to take your cookie." And it's like, "You have a bowl of fucking cookies, dude." I assume that's how it is in Canada.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I don't even really if you showed me a map, I couldn't even point to Canada. I'm not sure where it is.
Up.
How is it up if the Earth is flat, Jake? Isn't it always
Is
over?
Canada not on the moon?
You believe in the moon, huh? Okay. I thought it was the 4th of July, dude.
I love
Yeah,
that
we're
we're
allowed
just
to say whatever we
out
want.
praising. Oh, you believe in things outside your own body? Okay.
I
No,
remember the first time I had 2 beers at 1 AM.
in answer to the earlier thing that you were talking about, because that's so common with lefties. Um, I do want to give our audience some things they can walk away from this conversation with. If somebody says, "Oh, so what? You want everything to be like?" If you're talking about capitalism, and they say, "Oh, so what? You want things to be communist? You want things to be socialist?" First of all, you stop their ranting by asking them to define either of those things. Like, hold up, what is socialism? Second of all, ideally, you should have an answer for that question. If they say, "Will you tell me what socialism is?" Uh, then say something along the lines of socialism is government run programs that are not designed to make profit. Their goal is not to make profit, but to just be a successful program.
And I
Case in
follow
point,
that up with, "Don't you agree that the government has a responsibility to fix some of the things it's neglected as far as, those programs go," right? Like,
absolutely.
people will complain about, "Oh, welfare." Okay, well, don't you think we should fix that? Just get rid of it? Because if we fixed it, it would actually be a good thing, right? And then you could start to
That's
go
a
down
great,
healthcare
yeah.
road and all that. It's
That's a
their
fantastic way to look at
responsibility.
it.
It's gone on too long to expect it to just go away and fix itself. The problem exists now, and that requires fixing. It's not like
What
welfare has always been the problem,
let
you
me
know?
focus on that point. What you've stated is one of the reasons that a socialist government policy, of which the United States already has plenty, the any
Post
fire
office.
department, police station, military, post office, any the roads get paved with socialist policies. The the benefit to a government socialist policy is that it is not judged on whether or not it makes money, which is another way to say it doesn't get a pass if it is profitable. It doesn't matter if a CEO somewhere lines their pockets. It matters if the job is done correctly. In other
Yeah.
words, they have stricter standards for their output, which is important when you're dealing with government policies. What I would say though, to put a cap on the if somebody says, "Oh, isn't that socialist? Isn't that communist?" If you don't feel confident saying what socialism is, and somebody else brought it up, and they come at you with that, "Oh, hey, that'll be socialist." You say, "What is socialism?" They say, "Well, I don't really know. You tell me." You can just say, "I didn't bring it into the conversation." Because I almost never hear progressives bring up socialism or communism or any of
Great.
that stuff because it's just not relevant. Be like, you're the one that's bringing it into the conversations. You don't seem to know what it is. And I'm asking, why are you using the term if you don't know what it is? We can keep talking about this. Just stop using a term you don't understand. I don't
And
understand it either. Neither of us know what you're talking about.
and make the point. Socialism doesn't mean the end of democracy. But
Sure.
if the opposite of moving into more socialist programs is to remain in a capitalist situation, tell me, after all this time, why isn't it better for the majority of people? Why aren't the majority of people in the country um, benefiting from capitalism in the way like 400 people are?
Sure,
Do you know what I
but
mean? Like how
my
like what's
point,
your alternative to I mean, because if we stay the
you
course, where does it end?
hold on though, because this is what is the point of them saying, "Well, that's socialist," is for us to go for 20 minutes talking about socialist stuff. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. My point is that if you're not comfortable with it, you don't have to defend
Sure.
socialism, nor should you waste the time. If they're saying that's socialist, you ask them to define socialism, and they almost always can't. Uh, Great news. And if they can, by the way, say why is socialism bad and get them on that part. But my point is, you don't even have to dwell there. You just go to like, look, you can't define it. Hell, I can't define it. Why are we talking about it? Let's just remove that from the conversation and talk about only things we actually know about
Yeah,
and
like
move on so that they
how
solve
much do you pay for healthcare out of your check? Don't give me a number, just think about it. Why are you crying? I can see tears now.
it.
What's going on with you? You're turning red. Like you can there will be a moment where they're like, "That does suck," and you go, "You're right, it does. It should come out of your
Imagine that.
taxes." "Oh, my taxes are going up?" "No, sir. Your taxes will stop going to you name it." Right? Endless
Your
war.
taxes come out of your check at the end of every year. Your
Yeah,
health care comes out of your check for most people anyway at the end of every pay period.
yeah.
So what the is the difference? Oh, you're paying it to a private corporation. Is it cheaper? Nope, not at all. It is wildly expensive. In fact, it's
I
more expensive than anywhere else in the world.
I think I told you the story once. I have a habit of repeating this a lot. I was in Walmart. There was a guy who had just got off the phone in the aisle with me, and he was really upset and started commiserating to me about his healthcare. And he goes, "You won't believe what I owe them right now on top of what I pay every month and or every
Okay.
paycheck." And I said, "Yeah, isn't that funny? You pay this much money out of every single paycheck for what they call health insurance. And then when you get sick, they say, here's what you owe. And you can't help but go back through your last like year's worth of checks and go, why am I paying all this money to just, you mean I would have to pay more? Why is it so expensive?" And so, we had this quick conversation. Now, it was a lot shorter than this. I basically just said, "That's some bullshit." He said, "Yeah, I agree. It is." And I said, "It should probably come out of your taxes in a way that the taxes you already pay, because that's a lot too, should cover your health insurance payments. And then you don't have that money coming out for healthcare. And on top of that, when you go to the doctor's office, it doesn't cost you anything." And he was like, "Yeah, we should have that." And I was like, "Yeah, we should." And then this is where the conversation basically ends and we go our own way. But there was a realization, there was a moment of realization on this man's face where he was like, "I have never thought of this before." And now he is. And as he was going away, I felt I didn't do this, but I felt like calling after him and saying, "And that's why you should probably vote if you don't." Right? Like the
Yes.
people always say this system's bullshit, it'll never get better, but have you even considered what better means for you? And what better means for you is uh, I mean, it's a sure bet that that's what better means for everyone. I got a question about Canada.
Absolutely.
I was
Make
listening, unless you want to.
I do want to address I want to ask you this as well. So let's at least just bear this in mind. I'm going to star it and we'll come back to it later. But it my question is going to be how do we help prevent Canada from becoming like the US with our healthcare? But please make your comment first. I want to hear where you're going.
Well, it was about Michelle Obama. It wasn't
Okay.
about that statement, but it's to me. I was asking a question in my interviews last year, which I leveled off because I was like, okay, yeah, I don't really think this is a thing. I was worried about the right wing internationally unifying. And so
Hmm.
it's like you could do an insurrection, it goes wrong, and then you bail and take sanctuary in France or wherever you end up, right? Somebody's got your back. There's right wing everywhere and an international coalition of right wing supremacists and all that would be horrible. I don't think there's an ability for that level of organization. I think people are busy fighting for power in their own respective regions to care about somebody else. So um, then I started thinking, it's not that. It's not these right wing street groups or even government officials, politicians. It's corporations, and they've already done it. So, like, if there is some sort of alliance against the everyman, the left, the people, it's these businesses. And so, rich
Yeah.
people, in terms of privatizing healthcare, they're going to be doing that no brainer. They're like, hold on a second. Why aren't we banking off healthcare in Canada? What is it? Free stuff. But that comes down to a very that it's just a few people and it takes almost nothing to buy off politicians. That to me is a scary thing. And so anyway, that was just in regards to that comment. And again, this isn't my field. I don't know what I'm talking about. These are just my thoughts. But um my thing is, and my thoughts after talking to a lot of people about it. But um I was listening to a panel show, not ours. And they were talking, and it's one of these things that you'll listen to because you want the alternate perspective and you want opinions that are even slightly different than your own just to have
Sure.
them. And, you know, reinforce your own, maybe shift your own, whatever it is. And somebody said, now I totally disagree with this. And I'm also just kind of like, what, really? He said, I think it's a no brainer that if we put Michelle Obama up as the candidate right now, everyone votes for her. It's a no-brainer. She would be
Why?
the ultimate candidate, and I was like, "What? I didn't even get the impression that she was happy being first lady. And she's got no
Yeah.
political ambitions.
Nor like
Why
what
would you?"
possible reason would people have to vote for Michelle Obama?
It
What do
puts
we know about
Barack
her?
Obama, if you're a fan of Barack Obama, it puts him that much closer to being president again, maybe? I don't know, but
Not at all. It doesn't put him any closer to
yeah,
being
it's
president.
just like in a dynasty fantasy kind of world
Yes.
maybe, but so then I was thinking, same it's no it's only slightly more illogical to say that Michelle Obama could be in running Canada, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
okay, all she has to do is have that nationality and boom. Why it makes no more sense than it does to have her run for president of the United States. That really and nobody on the panel, maybe it's that they didn't wanna argue with this person, but nobody reacted. And I was like, "Wow." I would have if there's 4 people and one of them says Michelle Obama, I would expect all 3 of them to go, "No, dude, what are you talking about? It's the weirdest thing I ever heard of." Now, how do you feel about that?
It makes me think like anytime somebody says something like that, it's just like when I used to hear Tucker Carlson on Fox and he'd say one sentence and I would pause it and say like, "Okay, so now we know we don't have to listen to anything else they have to say
Yeah.
because they've just demonstrated that they have no idea what they're talking about." In this case with Michelle Obama, it it's somebody picking royalty, essentially. That's all Michelle Obama is to us is a celebrity. That's it. She's an informed celebrity, certainly. Neat. She was the first lady. That comes with some responsibilities, but it's not an elected position, first lady. It's
Yeah, it's
appointed pre-election by a marriage.
it's goofy
So,
how they're always
yeah.
like, you know, I imagine somebody saying, "You're first lady now. Let's go over your responsibilities. Be thinking about Christmas decorations." You know what I mean? I'd be like, "Go fuck yourself." I'm gonna either do nothing or, like, really try and make it a job. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
Christmas decorations?
if somebody's takes it seriously and they're like, "Hey, yeah, you know what? This is a this whether I like it or not, I'm in the spotlight because my husband's on stage or my wife's on stage, and I'm gonna do well. Good for you." But as far as then being the president, like somebody who would seriously sit down and be like Michelle Obama, who has never held an elective office that I'm aware of ever before, should hold the highest elective office in the land because she used to be married to somebody that did, and we liked her. That's insane.
It
On a,
makes no sense.
it doesn't.
It makes
Bringing up
more
Saucy's.
sense for Hillary Clinton to be president again.
I mean,
Run
she
for
was at least Secretary of State.
yeah,
That
and
at
like a
least
senator or
follows.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. Saucy, what I would advise you to do is this: point to us and say, do you really want to be as low as the Americans? Canada's been slowly privatizing its healthcare. Conservative-led provinces keep shutting down services and allowing grocery stores to open health clinics next to their pharmacies. What I would suggest you do is point to us and say, these conservatives are trying to make your healthcare privatized just like the Americans have it. The Americans who come across the border to buy our medication, the Americans who overpay that much for their medication, the Americans who constantly report being the least satisfied with their healthcare, the Americans for which 10,000 of them die every year because they did not go to the doctor for a treatable illness. 10,000 dead a year. Conservatives are fools, and you are a fool if you listen to them. That's what I would say, Saucy Sea Witch.
Just imagine, Jake, that you and I had the Canadian healthcare system and there was a risk of it going away.
I would
It's not
be
going
loading
away.
my musket.
I would be in the politician's office, like, knock, knock, knock. Hey, we got to talk about healthcare. And he goes, don't worry. I go, I'm worried. Here's what we got
Yeah.
to talk about, dude. Because if you're not going to fight for it and if you're not going to condemn the privatization of it or the attempts to, you're out. And that goes
Oh,
for me and the 10,000
I'm
people I
not
have
worried.
outside right now.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like,
If
hey, dude,
10,000
we're
people outside,
healthy. We're
I'm not
healthy.
worried, Mr. Politician. You should be.
I'm very healthy. I don't need my job to have healthcare. I can afford to fucking be here every day, buddy. That's how I would be looking at it. Right now, people don't protest because they need their job because that's how they get their healthcare, if they get
Y
healthcare from that.
yeah.
But I would say the way that people are constantly saying, you want the government in your life? You want the government reaching their hands in your purse? No, I also don't want rich people doing that.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
don't
what's
want
happening. Yeah.
do I want something I have control over, controlling my healthcare, or do I want something I don't have control over, controlling my healthcare? I don't have control over private industry.
Right.
I do have control over the government. I prefer control. Our old-time friend, longest running mod and my personal friend, Wicked Foxy Dragon. I mean, I get what you are saying, but I don't think you should be talking down to Americans. We are the wealthiest country in the world. By what standards? The country should cover us, but we are well enough off that. I do think you should be talking down to Americans. I think
One,
you
we
should
can
be
handle it.
talking real. Yes.
We don't worry.
Our we are there is a lot that's good about us, but it is overshadowed by what is dastardly about us, and we should be frank and I even think harsh about those criticisms now. And as far as Canadians go, I think you should absolutely use us as a negative example, because what is bad about us is infectious and it should be stopped. You should point to the results callously and be frank with your fellow Canadians up there, and not go down the same path we are.
Yeah,
But
and
that said,
all
I'm never
all
going to lead
leaders
you up.
should lead by example. They just should.
Yes,
And if America is leading the way in any way, then you have to call them out for all the negative things they do because that's not leading by example. And I think that it's our egos, perhaps obviously, are so through the roof down here in the
too
United
much.
States that
Yeah, we're
we are
allergic to
good.
humility.
You don't have to talk down to us for us to be offended by it. Because we'll
Yeah.
just find some, moments of boredom where we're like, "Those Canadians are really condescending, even if you aren't being. So go ahead and do it." And then when you are, you'll see that we're just like, we only do that when we're really bored. We don't really get offended like that."
Also, we are infuriatingly haughty. We are undeservedly haughty, to the point where we misconstrue criticism with an insult. It's not the same thing. and we are absolutely we are better than we choose to be, and I'm sick of it.
But see, this is the thing. Um, I don't want to call anybody out, but there's a comment about having to pay higher taxes. It's not higher taxes. It just isn't. It's it's not higher if it is higher taxes to get health care, right? Then it's not as if it's in addition to the money coming out of your check for healthcare and taxes. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's like, let's
Just
say,
take the word taxes out of it.
yeah, but
We
let's
pay
just,
more for healthcare than we need to.
yeah. And so if it came out of your taxes and it does translate to a tax increase, that doesn't, you're still coming out on top. And you don't have
Here's
to pay when you go to the doctor. You don't have to give them that 20 bucks or whatever it is. There's no deductibles, right? So
perfect.
ultimately, you're coming out on top.
Here's how I'd put it. Take that 20 bucks that is paid. Imagine in a private system you pay $20 for something, and with nationalized healthcare you pay $4 for it. And because it's $4, you literally pull out four crumply dollar bills to pay for it, as opposed to the $20 bill you would pull out and pay for it with in a privatized system. And the person who's voting against the privatized system is saying, I don't want to pay more dollars for this service. That's what you get with the tax conversation. What are you talking about that your taxes would raise? Oh, you're calling what you're paying something different, but you're paying the point is you're paying more money in the privatized system. Across the board you are.
Yeah, and a national healthcare system would allow for everyone to be on it. So there'd be a ton of young, healthy people not using it, which makes it way
Yes.
more affordable across the board, especially for the older folks who need it the most. This
Yes.
is this is the part that they leave out. They go, "Why are you going to raise my taxes?" And it's like, "You actually work for CNN? Screw you. First of all, you're a millionaire. Second of all, you should know better. You're lying." It become as soon as you nationalize it, it becomes a much more manageable and reasonable situation. It's practical even. It's not this thing where it's like some mystery that it cost so much money and you still don't get it. It's like,
Yes.
I don't understand why it's so valuable if nobody can get their hands on it. That's stupid.
Yeah. The most maddening effing thing. Pinkerbell, Medicare for All, thank you for the $2 super chat. Medicare for All eliminates the private tax paid to your insurance company. That's perfectly put.
And the
Yes.
government will give money, your taxes, to the health insurance companies to do research on how to make pharmaceuticals and stuff more affordable. You know what they use that money for? Lobbyists. They're lobbyists that go to Congress and lobby for things that they benefit from financially. It doesn't go to research. It doesn't go to making it more affordable. We have drugs that aren't like these brand name drugs in the world, like in Canada, that we call generic, which sounds bad. No, they're affordable. That's what we should be calling them. There's affordable medications that we're not allowed to have here. Why not? I don't so it doesn't become about keeping people healthy or curing the sick. It becomes about somebody making bank.
Yes. A simple way to look at it is how many people are paying for their kids' college in the system you work with? Because in a government run thing, it's going to be you and the doctor and like one government employee. In a privatized system, it's you and the doctor and the insurance salesman who convinces you to buy that specific insurance, and the insurance company executive, and the case manager that objects to your particular file and sends it to the insurance company's lawyer, the insurance company's lawyer who sues you and tries to not pay your debt, your lawyer who you use to countersue. Do you see all the nonsense that crops up? All of that.
The
All right.
insurance
That was
company
ridiculous.
creates their own company that assists
Yeah.
you in finding the right insurance company. They really do this, and it's like, so you have to go through a provider to find a provider. Oh, but guess what? That business is actually just the provider they're recommending you to. It's by definition, it's a scam and it's a racket, and it drives me insane to hear. I mean, I can understand why politicians who are funded by these people would argue against it. They're bad faith. But when you see the, mainstream media do it, that's where I really get upset. Where I really get upset is when the average person like us uses those talking points as if that's the truth instead of doing, just like a little bit of research into finding out what's really going on.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, there's plenty of cash out there. Give it to us. It's like when they say, "Oh, that movie bombed at the box office. They're not gonna make any more of those." Yes, they are. There's tons of money out there. It's not going anywhere. It's just not in the hands of the many. It's in the hands of the few. They're making this perception that we can't do it. Well, the person who said it's that, stinking quote, yeah, he's getting paid not to understand why it's the right
Yeah.
thing to do.
Yeah. Foxy, to this, I would say, yeah, the Affordable Care Act did make medical care available to everyone, depending on your income. I don't think if you're in the middle class that it's okay to be stuck in a system that fleeces you when you get sick and attempts to knock you out of the middle class so that you can be properly under the boot heels of our masters. I simply think health insurance, is a scam. It's fundamentally not a wise way to run things. And if you want proof, look at just about every other wealthy country on earth. Almost no other country runs their medical system the way we do. And the reason why is because it's ludicrous to do it that way. Case in point, the military, police, firefighters, these are all services that we agree we need. Once everybody in a country agrees that we need a service, you don't privatize it. You make it public. Healthcare is no different, except that our politicians have been bribed into pretending as though it makes sense for us to literally pay for our lives.
Look at
Gang.
look at the amount of hold on real quick. I can't screw up that quote. It's difficult to get a man to understand something when his
Mm.
salary depends on his not understanding Upton Sinclair. Sorry, I did not want to just screw that up. One
It's a
one
great quote.
one quick thing. Israel has universal health care.
Good lord.
Israeli super PACs are affecting our government through cash funds essentially to maintain a lack of universal health care.
Yeah.
So you just got to ask yourself what the f is going on, right?
If ever you needed an example of the hypocrisy of right wingers, there it is.
And this isn't even my field.
I think every field's your field a little bit.
Okay. I know I'm going to wear
Uh,
this flag around town the rest of the day and get a lot of
hell yeah.
smiles and pats on the back.
Listen, I think we have properly celebrated the holiday. $68 remaining. If we get in the next 30 seconds, a $68 super chat, then it'll suddenly become Wicked Diversity Squad, and probably Matt will flee wisely.
Yeah, or
Uh,
as I call it, cringe TV.
Cringe TV, yes. It's kind of like a live stunt, Diversity Squad. It's like
I
a Evil Knievel jumping a
I saw a segment on that wheel that said letter hacks. Now I just I don't know what that means, but we are a diverse subculture, okay? We're a
Indeed,
subculture, but we're very diverse.
indeed.
Not all
Yeah,
nerds read the same comics.
this is true, and that would have been our attempt to appeal. Although I think we're gonna on the next wheel have all new people because we can't have people on here on stage, that are represented. The whole point is you got to pitch to somebody you're not.
Yeah.
That was a Sir. Thank you for joining. That was a good show. I think I'm gonna
Thanks.
wrap it. You're the
Hey,
man. Ah,
I want everyone to do their part in supporting Biden for at least the next couple of days or however long he's still hanging in there. Show him
Oh,
you want him to have, like, a nice, relaxing retirement. There's no reason why he should work right up to none of us should work right up to the last day and then expire a couple weeks after retirement. We should be
good
able to
lord.
retire and just hang out for, like, a good decade or 2. Let's give him that chance.
Yeah,
Show him your
agreed.
support.
Thank you, brother. See you around. Oh, well, that was a lovely guest appearance by my pal Matt Strackbine, the letter hack. By the way, gang, Nina Canadian making me feel much better. No way Canada will privatize the same. There's still countless opportunities for private health related businesses. Massage therapy is thriving here because our employment health care plans cover it. Heck yeah. George Patterson, with his fight against corporation using lead in gasoline and other products, rings a bell. Interesting. I missed the context. I wanted to go back to a comment from Foxy. The problem is that not many people know about all the programs we have available to us. I would say a problem is that for sure. But that's true. There is even an intentional, I feel, uh, an intentionally confusing system that we have for these things, where it becomes a hurdle if you have difficulty with paperwork. Um, that is a major problem, and I think we can use legislation to fix it. Happy Thursday, y'all, and happy Canada Day. And oh yeah, I guess happy 4th of July. But I'm not celebrating 4th of July. As said, I'm celebrating Canada Day because we love our neighbors in Canada, and it's a couple days belated, but I feel like they earned it this year, and the U.S. really didn't. We ought not to celebrate as the ship's crashing. We ought to use this as a wake up call. Ooh, I understand that Lance is going on. So if you don't mind, gang, I will end this stream by uh what do you call it? Transferring it into Lance's stream. So allow me to set that up in the details, Cha. And oh, customization is where I do this. Redirect. Here we go. What is it? The Surfs? The Surf Times? Yeah. Oh, there was a UK election. I don't even have the heart for that. I'll see you guys in the Surfs. Meanwhile, this has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for what you can do slash Mr. Fun. I'll see you guys over at the Surfs.